Welcome back to the Chaudron Effect. I'm Mike Chaudron. This is a podcast about how leadership, work, and life actually unfold over time. Not in theory, not in slogans, but in real moments, real decisions, and real responsibility. I struggled with this episode a little bit. Not because I didn't know what to say, but because it touches on a chapter of my career that I was incredibly excited about at the time. And it ultimately became one of the biggest professional disappointments I've experienced. And it taught me something about leadership I wish I had understood sooner. There's an old Toby Keith song called "I Wish I Didn't Know Now What I Didn't Know Then." Leadership has a way of teaching you exactly that. And today I want to talk about one of those moments for me. Because authority, that's the easy part. Titles are easy. Promotions are easy. Organizational charts are easy. What isn't easy is the moment you realize someone else is paying the price for your decisions. That is when leadership stops being theoretical and becomes real. Today I want to talk about the difference between being given authority and actually carrying responsibility, because they are not the same thing. And most of us do not understand that until we live it, one conversation at a time. Most careers have a moment where you think you've arrived. You've earned the promotion. You get a bigger team. You sit at a table you used to look towards from across the room. And for a brief moment, it feels like success is finally validating you. But what you quickly learn is this: authority is an announcement. Responsibility is an assignment. Authority tells people who you are. Responsibility reveals who you are. Toward the middle of my career, I was promoted into a senior leadership role that I was incredibly proud to earn. One of my new direct reports had previously been a peer, someone I respected, someone who was talented, someone who had every reason to expect to be part of the leadership conversation. I made a very intentional decision early on. I wanted this person to feel included. Not tolerated, included. I worked hard to bring them into strategic discussions. I made sure they had visibility. At one point, I even asked them to serve as my deputy when I was traveling internationally. I believed I was showing respect and building trust. For months, everything appeared aligned. Conversations were positive. Support seemed consistent. Feedback was constructive. For nearly 9 months, I genuinely believed we were moving forward together. What I didn't realize was that there was a second conversation happening that I could not see. To my face, alignment. Behind closed doors, disappointment. There were relationships several layers above me that I did not fully understand at the time. Over time, I learned that concerns about my leadership were being voiced through those channels. I never saw it coming, and I mean that honestly. I believed what I was doing was right for the team, for the business, and for that individual. I believe transparency existed because that is what I was experiencing directly. I was wrong. Eventually, the lack of alignment became impossible to ignore. Performance tension grew. Trust became complicated. Energy that should have been spent building the team was being directed towards managing conflict that was never openly acknowledged. I had a team of 34 people, a team I helped build, a team I loved, a team that was as committed to the team success as their individual success. The culture being built was powerful and full of potential. I am still in contact to this day with many of those people. 33 of them were fully aligned, committed, and moving forward together. One was not. And that single misalignment carried weight far beyond one relationship. It began to impact credibility, decision clarity, and ultimately my ability to lead effectively. Here is the part that still sits with me today. I still do not know what I could have done differently. That's not a sentence leaders like to say. We like to solve things. We like to close loops. We like to explain outcomes with lessons that make everything make sense. But leadership does not always give you closure. Sometimes it gives you responsibility without explanation. The lesson was not about that individual. The lesson was about leadership itself. Leadership does not guarantee alignment. Integrity does not guarantee trust will be reciprocated. Good intentions do not eliminate competing agendas. And most importantly, leadership means you don't get to choose which voices carry weight above you. You only get to choose your integrity, especially with the people who are not in the room. Authority gave me the title. Responsibility required me to carry the consequences of dynamics I did not fully create and could not fully control. Authority allowed me to lead meetings. Responsibility required me to absorb outcomes. Authority feels empowering. Responsibility feels sobering. Authority is visible. Responsibility is often invisible. That distinction changes everything once you experience it. Most leadership training focuses on communication skills, decision frameworks, or performance management. And those are important. But very little prepares you for the emotional complexity of realizing that someone may fundamentally disagree with your leadership and choose not to tell you directly. That is not something you can fix with better meeting agendas or clearer emails. That is something you learn to carry. Leadership eventually teaches you three things. First, you can lead well and still lose alignment with someone you respect. Second, transparency is something you offer. It's not something you can require. And third, responsibility means continuing to lead with integrity even when the outcome is uncertain or uncomfortable. The promotion did not change my job as much as it changed my accountability. Before that, I was responsible for my performance. After that role, I was responsible for an environment. An environment includes personalities, expectations, histories, ambitions, disappointments, and agendas you may never fully see. That is the cost of ownership. And once you understand that, leadership stops being about being liked or validated. It becomes about being steady, honest, and consistent, even when clarity is incomplete. Looking back, I do not view that experience as failure. I view it as one of the moments where leadership became real for me. It taught me humility. It taught me awareness. It taught me that leadership is not measured by how well things go when alignment is easy. Leadership is revealed by how you show up when alignment is fragile. Authority, that's the easy part. Responsibility is where leadership lives. Thanks for joining this episode of The Chaudron Effect. We'll continue this next week. one conversation